This homeless exhibit is dedicated to these three people because they all died on the streets.
Bobby, Jay, and Arthur. Conrad Coleman is making sure their stories and others are told in his Life on the Streets, Homeless in Midland, Texas exhibit.
I cried. I'll just be honest. I cried when I heard those two had died.
The wounds of loss are still fresh for Coleman, who said Jay was known for his faith, despite his struggle with alcohol.
Jay, I would take food to after church on Sundays, and Jay would pray for me. I'd say, "Let me pray for you, Jay." He says, "Let me pray for you."
Coleman says Bobby was a joy to be around.
And whenever we would take Bobby breakfast, he would sing to us. He'd have a hymn. And he told me that he'd been to Vietnam, he'd been to prison, and he'd lived on Skid Row in California.
Underneath these raw images of life on the streets is a homeless person's story.
She told me that car, she panhandled to get the money for the car.
Lives frozen in time started as a class assignment. Coleman was taking a photography course at Midland College, and his wife's volunteer work inspired him to get to know and then document these often forgotten West Texans. The pandemic forced the class to stop meeting in person mid-semester, but Coleman completed his projects. And a year and a half later, with wall space donated by his fellow members of the Sibley Camera Club, these stories are finally getting a close-up.
This is my favorite photo. This was David. He was living on the streets.
This dog wandered up into his camp and adopted him. When a medical issue came up, David turned to Coleman for help rehoming his beloved pet.
David had had a hard life. That was the first pet he ever owned. And it was emotional for all of us. There wasn't a dry eye there.
The dog was adopted, but David
is still on the streets. And one of the things that bothers me about homeless people is you lose track of them. I've not seen David in months.
Just so you know, Conrad Coleman used to be a broadcaster. In fact, worked for CBS 7 many years ago when I first got my start in TV, so he tells a great story. Gianni, just how big of a problem is homelessness in Midland?
Yeah, Jay. Well, the city of Midland tells me the last point-in-time count was done back in 2019 by the Midland Homeless Coalition, and the homeless population then was around 230 people. Now, a count wasn't done last year because of the pandemic, but the organization is looking to start its 2021 count soon, and hopefully that number is lower.
All right, Gianni, thanks very much. Great story there. And if you'd like to see the free exhibit, you can visit the Sibley Nature Center Monday through Friday from 9 in the morning until 6 p.m. That exhibit will run through the end of September. And for more details on how you can help our local homeless population, just find this story on CBS7.com.